Yeah, it was a really good one, and I kind of liked don't want to say old school, but kind of the old school feel to college athletics of taking a kid in as a freshman, developing them for 4 years. They don't
Yeah.
get them for 7 years or 6 years, whatever Carson
Yeah.
Beck and Trinidad Chambliss were. But no, I like that it felt like an old school feel, and I know college soccer isn't the wild west in terms of recruiting, transfer portal, NIL, all that fun stuff like football and basketball are. But there's still that stuff still happens, and it still changes the landscape a little bit. But they said only go to the portal, try to find one guy or two guys every here now and then. So I like the old school developmental approach that they have over at Tufts.
Coming up next on Inside the Game, we'll dive into a little all-sports stuff. I know we got about 30 minutes left in our show. We're going to cut up that Kyle Desautels interview. We'll make sure we put that up on social for you guys to look at. But let's talk a little Indiana and Miami on the other side right here on Inside the Game.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs. From high-quality production to exceptional coverage, we ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today. Call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
A little bit of our all sports content. Big thank you again to Kyle Desautels stopping by our show to chat a little bit about Tufts University winning a D3 national championship. Again, catch that interview live on our social media platforms. Speaking of giving people platforms, Ryan, I'm just going to let you go off on your tangent here. Indiana wins their first national championship yesterday over Miami, 27-20 the final score. End up bringing home number one, Curt Cignetti, who claimed that he was going to go win one and that he was going to beat Ohio State and then he was going to beat Michigan when he was first given his introductory presentation to the fans at Indiana basketball.
That doesn't count.
Did so in the most inconceivable run in college football history, and I can say that confidently because, again, Indiana has been the doormat of college football for the entirety of their program's history. But I know Ryan's got a few things to say, so I'm just gonna give you the floor. Go ahead, do your thing.
It's the worst national champion I've ever seen. Come on now, come on. That's what it is. It's the worst national champion I've ever seen. And I say this. So before Nate gets mad at me, because I know this is his team, these are his guys. Like, he loves Mendoza. He loves the cornball interviews. I know. But hear me out. When I look at national champions, you think of greatness. You think of World Series, any championship, you think of greatness. The pure players that are great. And they're outside of Mendoza. They're not great players all over the place. And D'Angelo Ponce, good, yes. Who's the linebacker? Fisher, really good linebacker. Like, Indiana is a solid-ass football team. But after this year, I don't think any of these players are going to do anything in the NFL. Like, I genuinely don't think they do anything. Mendoza, that's about it. Surratt, back shoulder. He's going to be on an NFL team for a while because he's a good red zone threat. Amari Cooper, maybe. The running backs, maybe. But outside of that, I don't see any of these guys doing anything in the NFL. We look at Ohio State's team last year. Arvell Reese will be a top 5 pick. Caleb Downs will be a first rounder. Jeremiah Smith will eventually be a first rounder, but we won't know yet. Who's the guy in the Lions? Tyleik Williams. Who's the wide receivers? Emeka Ibuka. Like, there's stars all over the place. You think of Michigan's. You think of the D tackles: Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Colston Loveland, Blake Corum. JJ obviously was a top 10 pick. That's up for people to decide if he was deserving of that or not, but up to you. Will Johnson, Mikey Sainer, still all those stars. Then you go to the Georgias. You got the whole defensive line, basically the whole Eagles. The whole Eagles is basically Georgia. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jacoby Dean, and they're led by Stetson Bennett of all people. But you get the point. I don't see anyone in Indiana. If I'm being honest, I don't even see Mendoza. I don't even see a ton of people doing anything in the NFL. That's why I said worst national champion. Now, I will disagree I will say that is a damn good football team together as a collective unit, and I get it. Team sport, yada, yada, yada. But I'm telling you, this was a down year in college football, and they took advantage of it. And plus, they're goddamn 23, 24 years old. They're older than me, and I graduated college last year. I graduated as a 4-year student at Central Michigan, and there are kids older than me still playing college football. And by the way, I thought Pat Coogan, I thought he should be a Lion. Like, I'm watching, I'm like, damn, he needs to be drafted to be a center for the Detroit Lions as like in the second round or third round, even though they don't have a third rounder. And I'm watching him yesterday against an NFL D line. He got killed time and time again. So that is why I said worst national champs. And I already have on my TikTok page, I already got all these Indiana fans, y'all insecure about everything, so mad at me. I'm telling you how it is. They're the worst national champion I've ever seen. I would say Auburn. No, I would say they're better than Auburn. I would say Auburn is probably the worst, but it is not a good national championship team. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess being the worst national champion is probably the best backhanded compliment that you could get, right? Like, I don't think it gets any better than that. Like, there's still national championship attached to it. No, I mean, hey, Curt Cignetti unveiled something this year that I think a lot of coaches are really going to start paying attention to, and it has everything to do with what we talked about with potential versus productivity, right? That is when Francisco Mendoza says that they're a island of misfit toys. I don't necessarily agree with that.
He's a Heisman Trophy winner. You can't be.
He's a Heisman Trophy winner, right? But to what you're saying, maybe he has a little bit of a point, because an island of misfit toys is not necessarily a team that's going to produce top-end NFL talent. Let's talk about another team that's in the state of Indiana, and I think this is partially why Indiana fans are so insecure.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame has produced, I think, the most NFL talent of any program in college football history. Notre Dame hasn't won a national championship since 1988. Yeah, I realize they made it to a national championship last year. What's that?
They made it to 2, but they got housed.
Oh,
by
2,
Alabama.
right? Yeah, they got
dude,
obliterated
so awesome.
by Alabama.
I don't even like.
I
didn't even like Alabama, but dude, them housing Notre Dame was so sweet.
Yeah, the old Brian Kelly days. But when you look at that program from an individual player perspective, there are going to be a collection of players from Notre Dame that are drafted year in and year out, right? That this is just how it goes in terms of the standard of Notre Dame, not only getting good players, but developing good players. I don't think you have to have a list full of NFL caliber players in order to go win a national championship. Ryan, how many players on that Michigan 23 national championship team have made like a significant impact in the National Football League?
Let's see. Will Johnson already. Colson Loveland.
Will, okay, I'll give you that.
Loveland. Mason Graham, even though
Mason Graham has looked, yeah.
Corum plays a lot now for the Rams. A.J. Barner plays a lot for the Seahawks. Sainer still plays.
How many total?
A lot.
That's true.
What?
How many total players were drafted that year for Michigan? 20?
The straight national the national championship team itself, or the year after they won? Because the year after they won was it was one below the record. It was one below the actual record.
Huh. Okay.
But then you obviously add in the 5 last year, because Josiah Stewart obviously on the team too, and then if you add Derek Moore this year, so you add another one. So again, I don't know what the number is all of it, but it's pretty significant. And all I say is it's the worst national championship ever, because when I'm scrolling through like mock drafts, and I know it's not obviously that's going to tell the whole story, because I still think 4 or 5 of them will get drafted. But when I look at the whole team as a whole, there's really no one that's going to stand out in the NFL. Mendoza, but I still don't think Mendoza is going to be that sweet. And there's QB coaches that have coached NFL talent year after year said his game right now does not translate well to the NFL because it's RPO, RPO, RPO. And obviously the NFL is going to have a quarterback problem, and we can discuss how this is the worst NFL quarterback class once we get closer to the draft. Like, this is the worst NFL quarterback class of all time. We can discuss that closer to the draft. But when I look at all those guys, Surratt will get drafted, but again, he's a back shoulder fake guy. He doesn't create a ton of separation on these routes. Omar Cooper, I think, is a good player. But like when I look at their stars on the line of scrimmage, their stars is in Indiana. None of those guys are high picks. Maybe they're running backs. Maybe they ultimately get drafted and turn into Tom Brady for all I know, and they turn out to be the greatest 6th round, 7th round picks of all time. That would just be what happens. But at the same time, they're not going to be drafted high because you're drafting 23, 24-year-olds. And NFL pick, if you look at the NFL, you look at the NBA, you look at any 4-league draft, they do not take older players in the first, second rounds of draft, the opening rounds of drafts, simply because they want more ROI, and 23, 24-year-olds aren't a high ROI. Why do you think in the NBA 18-year-olds are getting drafted in the top 10 even though they haven't done anything? They're just they're drafted solely on potential. Like, they all take – that's why from here on out you're going to see in the NBA and NFL at least, it takes 2 to 3 years for these kids to even actually develop into something in the league. Look at Cade. Look at Asar Thompson. Look at Ron Holland now. So that's going to happen. Look at the quarterbacks, for instance. That's what's going to happen. And I said it's worse because of the NFL talent that I think that they have, or the lack of, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, I guess from that perspective, sure. I know you texted me yesterday in later stages of that game saying I'm still not impressed by this team. They won every single game they played. You know, I get it maybe from an individual perspective, but it's tough for me to look at the way in the run that they made. And I get it. Maybe not a whole lot of high draft picks, but I think the other side of this conversation is the whole bandwagon part of the conversation. And I know that's something that we mentioned before coming into this. Let me make something really clear. Okay. Any team that loses consistently throughout the course of their history and then ends up winning and winning big is always going to be viewed as a bandwagon fan base. The Cubs in 2016 were looked at as a bandwagon fan base. I had people calling me a bandwagon fan. Listen, I was watching the Cubs when Jeff Samardzija was our best player. And if you notice that name, it's because, yes, he did play he played quarterback at Notre Dame when Charlie Weiss was there. And then he converted over to baseball and made a career out of it. Yes. Yeah, Jeff Samardzija was a quarterback at Notre Dame and then converted over to baseball because he was drafted, and he was the best pitcher on the Cubs when they were a 50-win team. And that was like 2014.